Hello and welcome to Let's Talk About It, our monthly podcast about online schooling and different topics related to online school. My name is Mary, and as you know, I'm the host of this podcast. I come from Education Worldwide Online School. For those of you who watch us for the first time, those of you who are here with us for quite some time, you already know us, so thank you for joining us today. Since the spring has come and the nature is blooming, we have a very special topic tonight. I don't know if it makes sense to anybody else except for me, but we're going to talk about natural sciences, and I have a very special guest tonight. It is our lovely tutor, Sarah. Sarah, welcome to Let's Talk About It.
Hello, Mary. Thank you for having me.
How are you?
Well, okay. A bit tired, but...
Okay. So the classes are ongoing constantly, so
yes,
yeah, you came here right after
this
the
weather,
class.
as you mentioned, spring came along, so this weather is making me feel better, definitely.
Yeah. That's great. I'm great to hear that. So this is your first time in our podcast. You know, you only watched us through YouTube. So how do you feel being in the special seat over there?
A bit weird, if I'm being honest. I'm so used to watching it on the screen, so now I'm actually here.
Okay.
But yeah, it's nice being here.
Okay, so we have already a first comment who says, "My favorite podcast." Thank you, Nina, for the kind words. Since we are already at the comment section, I want to invite you all, if you have any questions or if questions regarding online schooling or about our topic, feel free to ask. We will be glad to answer it during this show. Usually we have Anita here with us. Unfortunately, she wasn't able to make it to this episode, but she sends regards and she will be joining us from the next episode, hopefully. Okay, Sarah, so usually when I have my guests here in the podcast, I usually ask them what is their favorite thing about online schooling, but if they're in a position of a student. So if you were a student, what would be your favorite thing about online schooling? Like, what would you like the most?
Well, that's a hard question because sometimes I'm really jealous of our students that they have a chance to experience our school and I didn't. But I would say that one of my favorite things is probably a chance for them to meet friends from all over the world. And also connect to the teachers in a way that I think is not possible in a traditional school. So yeah, definitely I would say.
When you say to meet the teachers in a way that it's not possible in traditional school, what are you referring to? Because actually in online school you can get to meet your teacher in person. But I believe there's a deeper connection between students.
Exactly. I feel like my connection to students is definitely different than a connection I had with a teacher in a traditional classroom when 30 students were sitting and the teacher was speaking and that's it. I mean, you talk after the class a little bit, but it's completely different here. Yes, when there are smaller groups, sometimes you're one-on-one with your teacher. We spend a lot of time talking with our students about what they do in everyday life,
so you
outside
get to know
of
them
school.
a little bit better.
Yes.
Than in a traditional school, which is actually great. Which is actually the reason why Education Worldwide does so good what they do, and we mean online classes and education of children, because we can establish that connection with them, which is really special.
I think that once they feel that connection with their tutor, then everything becomes easier. They are more comfortable asking questions about the lessons, or they feel like free to actually ask for help because they're just more relaxed with you.
They're kids and they're usually shy.
They don't feel like you're judging them, which I think is sometimes the problem at the beginning. Well, they're still not feeling relaxed. But once they do, you really feel that switch.
Great.
And I'm always happy to see it.
Okay, great. And besides being a tutor who teaches natural sciences in Education Worldwide, you are also a scientist yourself.
Yes.
in every sense of that role, you're a herpetologist. Yeah, did I mention that? Can you tell us a little bit about that aspect of your life?
Of course. I would love to talk about it. So besides teaching, I also do my other passion, which is herpetology. For those who don't know, herpetology is a study of reptiles. It's a field of biology. And I am specialized in studying snakes. Yes. So sometimes students don't want to hear about this.
Oh, okay.
Because there is still that prejudice about snakes and everything. When I mention snakes, some students are just, oh, we will not talk about this. I'm like, okay, I respect that. But
that's great. So they have honest reaction.
They do. They can be.
But
really
I believe
honest.
there are students who actually are pretty much interested.
Yes,
in
there are
that field.
two sides of students. Some of them are, oh, I love snakes. They are so interesting. The other side is like, no, please don't talk about it.
Don't talk about it.
Well, I'm here. Please don't.
Great. Okay, somebody says, I love natural sciences. Excellent. So you will enjoy this podcast episode. If you have any questions, feel free to join, or any comment regarding anything that we talk about. Okay, so how did you develop the love for natural sciences during your schooling? How it came to fruition?
It wasn't during the schooling. It was even earlier.
Earlier, great.
Yes, much earlier. I think it was since elementary school. So I watched Animal Planet. I watched a lot of National Geographic, Animal Planet, snake catching documentaries and everything. So I also spent a lot of time in nature when I was that young. I mean, I was lucky to have that opportunity to actually like go to hiking and to explore the mountains and everything. So I always felt that passion towards the nature, and that it was an easy choice for me. I knew that I was going to major science. I wasn't sure in what direction I was going to go in. I wasn't sure it's going to be herpetology. As I said, I loved snakes since I was young, but I was like, oh, okay, I will wait. Maybe something different will appear. Maybe I will feel that passion for some other field once I get to know everything there is in science, because science is such a broad topic.
Yes.
There's a lot of things you can do in science. So I was like, okay, let it be. I will see where it will go. And
here you are.
Here I am, nothing changed.
Yeah, great. And speaking about natural sciences, I mean, in this day and age, I'm referring now mostly to high school students. You know, it's kind of an impression that they're maybe more interested in some new topics like, I don't know, IT or computer science, maybe even business and management and stuff like that. I'm not sure how natural sciences are popular among students. I mean, these are core subjects and they're obliged to follow them. But what is your experience so far? Do they still love biology, geography, and?
They do. So it's interesting to me because when I'm talking to students and ask, what do you want to do in the future? They do say those things a lot of times, but still they tell me science is one of my favorite subjects, or science is my favorite subject.
Oh, he said.
So it is something else that is pushing them to do those majors, but they definitely feel that love for science, I think. I think that science is a really interesting course, and it's really easy to make it interesting. Now I'm talking from teacher's perspective. I feel like it's really easy to make science interesting because it's, I mean, all around us.
Yes, exactly. So you can easily find a real life example for anything.
Examples. Yeah. And once you have that real life examples, it's just so easy to remember it and to learn it.
And probably to catch the students' attention, because they do love to learn something that has meaning.
Yes.
And can be.
A lot of times we are, for example, doing a lesson and then we just, go to some other topic, completely different. We are just like chatting and something comes up. We are talking about something else. And then we are, for 15 minutes we didn't do the lesson. We completely went off the topic. And then I'm like, but no, we were actually talking about science.
Yes.
Because it can be such a random thing but I still find a way to connect it to science. And
that's really great. It's like a field trip during the class, you know?
Yes, a field trip.
But only with the topics, not it's a topic field.
We went somewhere.
Great. And you mentioned that it's easy to connect, to talk about natural science with students. So can you actually, before I ask the question that I intended to ask, I have to ask you, what subjects do you teach actually? To tell us a little bit more about it.
Yes. So I am a science teacher. Now what that means? When I say science, I mean mix of biology, chemistry, and physics. So all these three fields are actually study of the world we live in, the world around us, either be living or non-living. So students will start with science that is like merged together into one course called just science.
That's during middle school grades,
Elementary
right?
and middle school.
Okay.
That's right. Once they enroll into the high school, then they start focusing on those subjects separately. So in the 9th grade, so that's the first year of high school, they have a physical science, which I think is a great introduction to what's coming. And that is biology in the 10th grade, chemistry in the 11th grade, and physics in 12th grade.
Okay, great. So,
Yes.
so
I teach biology and chemistry group classes. Students know me from there. And I definitely love physics too, but I feel like biology and chemistry are my subjects.
Yeah, definitely. Your cup of tea.
Yeah, that's what I tell my students too. Like, I know physics, I can teach you physics if you need it. But I
prefer
chose
not
to teach these two because I feel much more connected to these two. Okay, and I leave physics to teachers like Miss Bo, who actually loves it.
Yes, definitely. Okay, so we have someone named Interesting asking us a question. He or she says, is physics a natural science or more of an exact science? I think it's both. What do you think? Where would you put physics?
Yes, so physics, that's an interesting question. Yeah. Definitely. That was exactly what I was saying, because I also kind of separate physics from the biology and chemistry.
Oh, okay.
I feel like physics is always there. Physics is in biology. Physics is in chemistry. But physics can also be connected to math. It is definitely a natural science, because if we think about the divide between the courses, there are social studies, language arts, so like the social and language courses, and there are natural sciences. And I definitely think that physics is natural science, but as the interesting said, yeah, it does count as an exact science too.
Great. That's really good observation and thinking from both your sides. And I was wondering, since you mentioned that they have like physical science in grade 9, so biology, chemistry, and physics come to grade 12, and you mentioned that physics is included in biology and chemistry and so on. Do you think that that's maybe the reasoning of how they divided the subjects? So you learn physics in grade 12, which is your last year, when you already have mastered the concepts of physics and chemistry and everything else. Do you think that it's connected somehow?
Yeah, the order is definitely great. So physical science, which is the first science subject, prepares you for those three. So it gives you sufficient knowledge to actually understand biology later or chemistry. So physical science, I have to say, has mostly physics in it, but more theoretical physics. Oh, okay. You are still not like drawing and calculating and everything. You are learning the basic laws of life. So you are like learning laws of thermodynamics, Newton's laws, movement,
basics, as you
basics.
said.
And that is exactly what you need for biology and chemistry later. And then in the 12th grade, when the students are oldest, then they are prepared, after all that, they are prepared for physics.
Yeah, that's really great. I think that if somebody is considering enrolling their child into an American online school, specifically in education worldwide, I think you should consider enrolling your child throughout the whole 4 years of high school in order to get this whole package, and in order for a child to get the entire education, which is interconnected within the subjects. I think that's the best option. So, because I believe it's a little bit, maybe it is, maybe it's not. You know, when we have students who join us in grades 11 and 12, maybe they have some trouble with some other subjects. You know, if they haven't learned from our curriculum in previous years. Although I do believe that students, not students, but teachers find a way to bridge those gaps. But anyway, it's always better if a student is learning the entire program meant for all 4 years. That's great. And the question that I was intending to ask previously was, do biology and chemistry have some tough to understand concepts, or you know, that they're giving troubles to students, and how do you overcome those issues? Because at the beginning you told me actually that you can easily find a real life example for anything that you teach. So can you give us an example on how you solve the issues when you when they have trouble understanding something?
Yes, so let's start with biology, since that's the first course that they have. So biology, I have to say, is challenging at the beginning. The first modules are challenging. The first modules being concept of what is cell, organization of the cell, metabolism processes in the body. So that is a hard topic. And right after that one comes the hardest topic, which is genetics and molecular biology. And those are two first modules, and that is like your start with biology. And yes, it is challenging for the students. They're like, oh, this is so hard to understand. But it has to start that way, because the course in biology is organized in that way that you start from like the smallest part of biology, which is a cell. That is a basic unit of all living things, and biology is a study of living things. So the course has to start with cell, and it goes on to the highest part of hierarchy in biology, which is ecology and evolution and environment. So that is the last module of biology course, and I think it's perfectly organized that way. Now I'm going back to the challenging start of biology course, that is mostly genetics. Now genetics sounds fun, but when they start seeing all those numbers, like Mendel crossing the P's, you have alleles, you have a lot of new terms, a lot of new concepts. It just gets confusing until you like, stop. I tell them, okay, stop. Now let's think about you, about your parents, about your brother or sister. Tell me, like, let's start with eye color. Eye color is, I think, the best example and the easiest. And they really get interested, because they're like, oh yeah, I have blue eyes, but both my parents have brown eyes. How is that possible? And I tell them, you know, how is that possible? Like, do that from the lesson, and you will find out. And they actually do the Punnett square that the lesson teaches them, and they're like, oh yeah, there was 25% chance that I do have blue eyes, although my two parents have brown eyes. And they're like, oh, mind blown. Oh, it is possible. So that is one of the examples of how
you solve this.
How I solve that.
Tough topics and concepts. Okay, so interesting, has something else to add. Again, he or she says, I also find it very interesting that mathematics, physics, chemistry, and biology are all related to each other. Mathematics is literally what physics uses to explain its laws. Chemistry is applied physics because it uses its laws, and biology in turn studies life that is formed from chemical compounds. Okay, somebody has
really knows.
Knows what they're talking about. We absolutely agree with you. Yeah, that's really great that these subjects are
I didn't mention that, but that's the best part of natural sciences.
So thank you for participating in our podcast and making it more interesting. If you don't say something, you complete us. So thank you, kind stranger. Okay, great. And so now you have explained to me or us what is something that the students struggle when we talk about biology. What about chemistry? Do they have some topics that are hard to understand and give them headache?
So chemistry starts easy and it gets harder with time. So it's the opposite.
Yeah.
Now what I usually notice that's interesting to the students is, let's say, a module of nuclear chemistry. They watch probably a lot of movies.
Yeah.
It is now like an interesting topic. So they love that module. And actually I hear that a lot of students also love my favorite part of chemistry, which is organic chemistry. Okay. And that is the part where everything connects. So organic chemistry is the chemistry of living things. And everything they learned in biology is actually made from organic compounds that they are learning in chemistry. So they're going into even more of that a year later. So chemistry sounds hard because it is something that you cannot usually physically see or touch when you are talking on a smaller scale of atoms and subatomic particles. But I feel that our platform has a very great way of explaining it to students and showing them. I think that it's also very good that they have science throughout the school, not just high school. So in our school, they're learning science from grade 1, from K.
Yes, basically.
K to 12, basically. So when they enroll into chemistry course, they already know what is an atom, what is an atom made of, what is a molecule, what is a compound. They already have the basics. So it is not totally unknown to them. Like, oh, what is this now? They already know what is chemistry. They already have those basics, and they just start like adding to that knowledge later on. So there are some hardships in chemistry, but I love chemistry because it's hard. But once you figure it out and understand it, you feel like super smart. I'm like, oh yeah, I know how to do this. I thought it was so hard, and now I know how to do it. And you just feel so proud of yourself. That
so
you
the students have the same feeling after they understand?
I'm always sharing that feeling with them. I tell them how I felt with chemistry, and then I explain, let's say, electron configuration. Sounds super confusing. Looks confusing. But then you start doing it, and everything just makes sense. And they're like, yeah, you were right. This is so fun. You know, like, let's do more examples. Yeah, let's do more examples.
Great. So how your classes actually look like? Do they ask you a lot of questions, or are they like shy and wait for you to start talking about the lesson? Or
depends.
Okay.
So just like everyone, students also have better days and not so good days. Yeah. When they are tired and unmotivated, that is of course normal. I try not to push them too hard when they are not feeling like it. I of course try to make the class interesting, but I still don't want to like push them beyond their boundaries. So sometimes I do like to like just have a chill class. Then sometimes they're really talkative, and yeah, they can just talk on forever. Like 45 minutes is not enough.
So they're running the class, not you.
They're running the class. Yeah, I can just sit there and be quiet. I love those classes too. So as I mentioned, sometimes we go off the topic of the lesson, but we still find a way to connect it to the science we started with. So still after those classes, you do feel productive. After all, you feel like you learned something.
Yeah. Now I'm going to step out of the topic itself about natural sciences, but teaching students online. I think that that's also one of the aspects of the flexibility that gives freedom to you as a teacher to go off the topic during the class and still make the class productive, because you follow like the vibe you get from your students, because as you mentioned, sometimes it's simply not their day, and it's useless to force them to learn about something which they're maybe not fully focused on at the moment. What do you think about it? Do you love that moment when you have the freedom to, just organize the class? I don't know, just go with the flow.
Yeah, that's probably one of my favorite parts.
Oh, great.
Having that freedom. Freedom not to strictly follow the curriculum, because they do have all the materials on the platform, which I think is great. And because of that, I can actually add to that knowledge that they are getting from the platform, and just make ways to help them find more interesting after all. And I also think those discussions are so great because of the nationality of students, the different nationality of the students, because they have such different examples.
Oh, great.
They are from all over the world. Now when we are talking about nature, what is around them, and giving examples, I don't know, let's say animals, for example, like, well, what animals they have. So someone will say, oh, it's normal that I have monkeys, outside. Yeah. Some will say, I don't know, we don't get spiders in the house, I don't see them in the yard. Yeah. Or such a crazy examples. Yes. And then I love when other students, when someone in the class says something like that, and all the others are like, what?
But that's the beauty of learning in an international environment, which is really, really great. They get to share different experiences.
Yeah, and they open up more because of it.
Great.
Yeah, that's great.
Okay. That's actually really, really good. Now I want to study in our school, because I kind of feel that I miss that moment, when you can connect with some different nations or cultures, or simply people from different countries who have different experiences. Okay, so, interesting says, I love chemistry. I believe this is one of your students who is hidden behind the name interesting. So I love chemistry. This is an amazing and fascinating science, and studies things that can change their composition, change their form. By the way, I'm a student of Education Worldwide, and there's a heart emoji attached to that as well. So we send you heart as well. And thank you for choosing Education Worldwide as your school. We are also grateful and happy to have you as our student, even though we don't know your name at the moment, but let's keep that a secret. It's interesting this way as well. And you mentioned you mentioned students have a lot of learning material on the platform itself. Can you tell us a little bit more for maybe people who are not our students and who do not know how subjects are designed? Can you give us like a little example on how, for example, biology or chemistry are organized on the platform? So what's there in the learning material? What's there for students?
Okay, so they have lessons. So of course, course is separated into 2 semesters, semester A and B. Each semester usually has around 6 modules. So each module is named after a different topic. I was already mentioning modules and some of the names, like genetics and cell basics and everything. So those are the examples of the modules. Now in each of those modules, they have a lesson. After the lesson, they have a lesson quiz, which is something I think very helpful for them to, and not for us, like to grade them, more for them to check their knowledge and see if they understood the lesson.
Great.
And in that way, they can go back to the lesson and review the lesson if they haven't done that quiz very good.
So it's basically like a self-assessment for them.
It's like a self-assessment.
Great.
And I definitely feel like quizzes are more for them than they are for like the graders and the final grade. So of course they have the quiz after each lesson, so they can check their knowledge after each lesson. At the end of the module, they have the module exam, which is the stressful part. But I feel like only the first exam is stressful. After that, I think
it goes easier, right?
Once they know how it looks like, they are not scared of it anymore. But the best part, I think, are the assignments.
I wanted to ask about
that. The assignments. Especially, I feel, science. I'm biased maybe, but assignments in science are the best, I think.
Are amazing.
They are amazing. Yeah, they have assignments, and I cannot define the assignments because they vary. Yeah, definitely. They can be from like researching and writing an essay to like filling out the worksheet, to going outside and observing.
Yes. Do they get to do experiments at home, and do you mean on assignments like that?
Oh, yeah, they do.
Great,
They do.
awesome.
I was just getting to that. So they are also creative assignments that I like very much. Like creating, for example, cell model. They have to use the stuff from their kitchen to create a cell. So they learn what are the parts of the cell. And now they have to feel like the texture of it. So, for example, they will use jello for cytoplasm. That is like the environment where the other organelles are. Then they can take some beans or berries and put it in a jello to, you know, make the other organelles.
That sounds really interesting.
Yeah, and that is one of the examples of creative assignments. As I mentioned, there are observing assignments too. So when they have to go outside and do the observation, write down what they saw, what they conclude from that. I always tell them, sometimes they ask me, my experiment didn't work, I didn't see anything, I didn't find anything. I tell them, but that is still a result.
Yeah.
That is still a result. Of course, you have to word it nicely. You cannot just say, oh, I didn't see anything. That's it.
End of the story.
Yes. But you have to explain why you think you didn't see anything. Like what is maybe the cause of you not seeing those, I don't know, earthworms in the ground, for example. Like, why do you think they aren't there? So the causes can vary, of course, from the weather to their place where they live in.
Yes, of course.
But I always tell them that no result is also a result.
A result, great.
Yeah.
That's a great life lesson, actually.
It is. And I think that the science courses are very good in preparing them for the science world later on. Because they are studying the scientific method. They, from the start, they know how to form a hypothesis. They know what is a hypothesis, so they're not asking the question. Before each experiment, they have to make a hypothesis, meaning their guess of what's going to happen. That hypothesis can be correct or cannot be correct. But of course, even if it's not correct, you will go back, check a few more times.
Of course.
If it's not correct each time, then obviously
it's not correct.
It's not correct. So you're trying with something different. And they really learn that throughout the lesson. And as you said, that's also a life lesson.
Yes, of course. I mean, it's interesting. It teaches you life. Okay, so we found out the who is behind the nickname interesting. It's Yasmina. Does it make it any more?
Yes,
so you know who Yasmina is. Okay.
Yasmina.
So she obviously changed her username, and she has a question. regarding graduation, will there be any exams at the end? That will be, I'm sorry, I'm having some emojis here, so I can't read the question correctly. So it says, I have a question regarding graduation. Will there be any exams at the end that will be held on Zoom, for example? No, you don't have any graduation exams through Zoom. All your exams are actually your module exams or semester exams, as Sarah explained, for all your subjects. And Zoom exams are only for students if we caught them to cheat a lot, and we cannot be sure if they are, you know, like being honest with doing their quizzes and tests and exams online. So that's when we issue Zoom exams, or exams through Zoom exams. It sounds confusing, but there is no like a specific end of the school year or graduation exam. Like each subject has the usual semester exam after each semester. So I hope this answers your questions. Okay, let's go back to to our topic. And we mentioned a lot of assignments and experiments that they can do. What about labs? A lot of parents who are considering enrollment in our online school are asking about the laboratories. And when we say we do have an online lab, they're like, "You have an online lab? How that works at all?" So can you please explain how online labs work?
Okay, that's also one of the things I'm jealous of.
Okay.
Because when I remember my high school, those labs were so chaotic. You know, the classroom goes into lab, they tell you mix some solutions, you get some color, you have no idea what's happening. I remember no one knew. Like, they were following, you know, the protocol. Oh, okay, that's it.
Yeah.
But you weren't aware of what you're doing. While on this platform, there are advanced simulations that are showing what is actually happening inside those lab tubes.
So you basically have like a behind the scene or in the bottle.
Yes, you see it on those small scales. You see how the atoms are arranging, how the molecules are, you know, formed, how everything is mixed, and it just becomes more clear that way. But also I have to mention that the labs are also great. When we say labs, usually when we say labs, people will think chemistry labs. They will think, okay, lab coat, like test tubes, you're doing something, you have the goggles maybe. But when we say labs, we do not mean just those labs.
Okay.
We also mean labs in a larger scale. Let's say, I think one of the great simulations on the platform is a natural selection lab. Now, when we are speaking of evolution, that is something that is hard even for scientists to see in a lab. Usually scientists will study evolution on organisms that have a short lifespan. So, for example, fruit flies or bacteria, so something that you can observe for a large amount of generations. While here, of course, we will not like show them fruit flies, that's uninteresting, but they will show them rabbits, for example. And they have such a great simulation where you can control the rabbit population. Like you can add predators, like you add wolves, and wolves so walk around, eat rabbits.
Play with the nature and everything.
Yes, and you can mix the genetics of a rabbit. So you have brown rabbit, you have white rabbit, and now you can change their environment. They can be on a snow, or they can be on some earth environment, something brownish.
Yeah.
So obviously when they change that environment to the white one, the white rabbits survive better. So they will see, yes, they can like observe multiple generations of those rabbits. They see like the years passing, generations.
That's really awesome, actually.
Yes, and they can see what happens to that population. And they can see what effects like other factors have. Like I mentioned, predators, for example, or just you know, randomizing like the mating of those rabbits. Like if the no blue rabbits, white and
maybe we can
brown
create
rabbits
some blue
cross,
rabbits.
or it's more white and white. So yeah, definitely.
Awesome. How do students react when they see they can do stuffs like that? Like what is their reaction? Did you have any feedbacks that are super positive or enthusiastic about?
Oh, sometimes they go crazy with it. They just like put everything. They put like 100 wolves to see what's happening.
Oh, okay.
Or that's at first sometimes. Like, oh, it's so fun. You don't know. You're
They
just
play
overwhelmed
around,
with
yeah.
everything. Yes. But then you're like, oh, slow down. Let's follow the instructions step by step. And I feel like it's so easy for them because with each lab, they get a worksheet where they have questions that, I mean, they can only do if they did it at lab. So the questions can be what happened to generations if that and that factor was there. So they have to do the lab correctly to answer the worksheet. And once they slow down and follow the instructions, go step by step, I feel like it's so easy to them. Doing the worksheet, I feel it's not hard at all once they understand the lab simulation. So I love doing simulations in classes. I feel like it's really interactive and it's interesting to a lot of students, not just the one that is controlling the labs. Because everyone is like, oh, surprised, or has the opinion, or do this, what will happen if we add this, or
so they have like ideas and want to try different scenarios. Awesome.
Yeah.
I think that's really gets them to think about different aspects that can influence things around us, which is really, really, really great. Now I'm jealous because we didn't have that.
See?
It was like you have a wood and there's rabbits in the wood, there's wolves in the woods and so on, but you couldn't control the population or know what would happen if there's more of this species or that species. So it's really great that they can study about that and in a so interactive manner that you mentioned. Which is also one of the great things about online education, because it simply goes beyond everything that the simple book could offer, you know, even though I love books personally. Okay, and you also mentioned this international environment and how students react to different topics, and one of the things that you also mentioned about biology, that you cover some like really topics that are really actually even today, in this day and age, like are hot topics in the world, like I don't know.
You
My
probably
brain
think
stopped working in the
about
moment.
environmental
Yes,
sciences.
environmental issues. That's what I was thinking about. So, how do students react on those topics? Like, I believe that there's difference in each country, and
there is. It's really interesting once that topic comes up, because everyone has different experience. For some students, it's completely normal to like recycle, to like put your glass, like when you want to throw trash, you already separate it. Some students, it's completely normal. They don't know any other way.
yes.
For some other students, you're like, what?
Like,
What are you doing?
that? Yeah.
Who is doing that?
Yeah.
I thought it's only in the books. So I think that it's so great for students to see what exists elsewhere, that it is possible to do that. It is possible to like advance to that point where that is normal in some places. And I think in some way it does motivate them to try to make change in their neighborhood or in their
At
city,
least in their house,
country,
of course.
at least in their house.
But
exactly.
it's a great first step. I mean, children talk between each other, you know, so if they heard something in their school, they're going to talk with their friends who are not from education worldwide, who are in their neighborhood or something like that, and they spread the idea. So I think it's really great.
And they learn the reason behind it. That's, I think, most important part. They will not just go around and say, oh, let's recycle, like why? They can actually tell you why. They can explain to you like what is happening,
Great.
like, what is a carbon footprint and everything. I will not go into much detail, but I feel that that motivation comes only with understanding of the topic. So once they do understand why it's important, that's when they actually start educating others on that topic. So
great. Awesome. Sarah, the time went so quickly. We were talking and I have a feeling like we haven't even touched the topic
I
yet.
know, I feel like I have so many things to say.
Do you have anything that you would like to say, regardless of my question to you? Like, what would you like to mention that maybe can be useful to know for our current students or our future students, or anything that they should know? Maybe like a tip that you can give them for studying, or anything that you really love to say about your subject.
Well, yes, I would love to give them, I will not call it a tip, more like advice. When they are doing natural sciences, when they are doing it online, in the online environment, in those simulations. At the same time, they do it in real life. They go outside. And I want them to see those small things they see in those simulations that are not visible with naked eye in the world that they can see.
Yes.
They have to try to put that knowledge they learned into the real life. Like when they see a tree, I want them to see what's inside.
Oh, what's inside the tree.
Like they have the vision.
Okay, great. Do you have like any feedbacks from students? I believe that you encourage them to do so. So do they ever come back during some other class and tell you like, oh, I don't know, I noticed this, or when I passed by a tree, I realized that this is something that we study, or something like that?
That happens a lot during the classes. When we learn something, you like see their lamp turning on.
Yeah.
Oh, that's why this happened with my plant, or something like that. Like everything connects, and they're like, oh, it makes sense now.
I think it leaves them with the sense of accomplishment, or like the thing that we talked about at the beginning. It's really rewarding for both teacher and for the student, I believe. So it encourages them for all other subjects, I suppose. I know it would have that effect on me. Okay, and what about additional resources? I mean, you already mentioned that the platform itself is pretty much interactive and has a lot of material, and they can just play around using the regular learning material. But do we offer some additional resources, and do students actually ask you for additional resources if they're interested in some particular topic or module or segment of biology, chemistry, or any other subject?
Yes, of course. I feel like the platform gives so much that there is not really a need for additional knowledge. But of course, it is always fun to recommend a video or a movie. I feel that, especially, if some movie comes on Netflix, let's say,
okay,
and it is biology usually movie. I love recommending My Octopus Teacher. I'm not sure if you watched it.
I didn't, but I'll make sure to watch it.
Yes, I always recommend that when we come to topic of mollusks or octopuses and intelligence of the animals in general, or the animal behavior. That movie went viral, and when I mentioned it, a lot of students already watched it.
Oh, great.
So yeah, I definitely feel that it's important to keep up
with them and with everything that is going on.
Yeah, what's going on outside. Sometimes it happens that they see a TikTok of something
that you didn't saw.
Yes, and he asked me, is that true? Like that guy was saying that on a TikTok? So is it true? In the comments you have a lot of people. Some are saying it's not true, some are saying it's true. Everyone is...
But I love that they check with you. They want to check
they trust me
verified
so much.
resource. Yeah, source of knowledge, so it's really great of them.
They
awesome.
Love those fun facts and to check them if they're true. Because sometimes they're unbelievable facts. They really have to check. Actually, in most of cases, their resources are great. So now this is completely other topic, but I feel that there is so much negative stigma around like social media and TikTok in general, but I feel that on the right side it can be very educational.
Very useful, yeah.
Yes, very educational. The videos that they send me, that they ask me about, are very good videos with great people speaking there on that topic.
I mean, the teachers, and not just teachers in school, but everybody who wants to pass on the knowledge, you know, it doesn't matter if they have the title teacher and work in a school specifically, can use social media actually to pass on that knowledge and talk about, or if they're really just knowledgeable and passionate about some topic. So yeah, social media can be actually a fun place, you know, if you're able to navigate through everything else that is just stealing your attention time and, you know, doesn't teach you really anything. So, but it's good. It's nice that you mentioned that, because especially because of that stigma. So, and it's good that we have so smart kids, you know, who are actually checking things on. Did you ever consider of like having, or maybe you're already doing it because they're coming with specific videos and asking you about them, about the legitimacy of those those videos? Did you ever consider of creating like I don't know, a Mythbusters in education worldwide, like something that's where you can break the myths that they saw online, or
I would love to, Mary.
Oh, really? So we're going somewhere. Maybe in the near future we can have that as well. I mean, I would watch that for sure.
I would love to do it.
Awesome.
And I cannot wait for the discussions after it.
Great. Maybe we can come up with something and have that in, like, I don't know, maybe it could be a club, or maybe a meeting where we can do that, or maybe we can test the, I don't know, there's so many ideas.
We will think about it.
We will think and come up with some solution. Okay, is there, I know there's a lot of things, but we kind of have to wrap the show. Do you have anything else to add on this topic that we talk about, and maybe something that I didn't ask you and you were like, I have to say this?
There was something, I mean, we were on that topic kind of long time ago now.
Okay.
But I wanted to mention also ethical reasons behind the online labs. Firstly, when you think of biology labs, you usually think of frog dissection, right? And I feel like now, in this time, it's very cruel. Not just cruel, but it's completely unnecessary.
Yeah.
When the technology is so advanced that you can, I'm not just talking about pictures, like yes, you can see it on the pictures, but you literally have simulations where you can open up the frog, like take the tools, like see all the parts and understand it even better than in real life. So I definitely feel like this is one of the best ways to learn.
That's also a really good point. This ethical reason and ethical side, I like that as well. Didn't think about it, but now that you mentioned it, it's really great.
And when we were talking about chemistry, I also wanted to mention the safety reason. So usually in the labs there are a lot of hazardous materials. Sometimes the reactions can be dangerous. So although like high school students are not working with dangerous materials, it can happen that they take the wrong tube, like that they use the wrong acid, for example. It happened to me that like my tube exploded and made holes in my lab coat, although we were working with safe materials. So yes, definitely the lab safety is something you learn, and they do learn it even here in the online school. What do they have to do in the lab? But they are in a much safer environment. It is safe for them to make a mistake. They will know they made a mistake, but nothing will happen to them. Yeah. It is not dangerous, but it still prepares them for if they want to major something that will like require the lab.
And I have additional question now that you mentioned major and stuff like that. I know that we still don't have a lot of high school, actually we do have a lot of high school students, but not a lot of high school students who graduated with us. Not at least in this moment, but do you know some example where students actually wanted to continue their higher education in the field of natural sciences, and that you helped them with maybe choosing some subjects?
Yes, so I do, but it is usually medicine.
Okay,
So the subjects I talked about are like the main subjects. So you have to prepare for pre-med, med, bachelor's. So I mean, it's not that, unfortunately, I love medicine, and medicine is so important, and it's, I mean, a beautiful topic. But I'm kind of sad to see that not a lot of students chose something else as their major connected to natural sciences. Like I didn't have a student who like went to like biology or chemistry major or something related to that. So it's usually medicine.
Medicine, right.
Yes.
Well, there's still plenty of time. Maybe we will change some minds after this podcast. Okay, so Yasmina also joined to share her comment regarding our topics on dissecting frogs, and she says, I'm so glad that modern education considers dissecting frogs cruel. I always felt so poor, maybe she didn't say poor, again I have emoji so I can't see clearly, for these poor creatures. Probably I always felt sorry. That's probably what she wanted to say. Okay, so Sarah, we officially came to an end of this show. So I wanted to thank you. I think that we are going to have to continue this this story topic discussion, call it whatever you want, some other time. And thank you guys for watching. Please like, share, subscribe, share this link with somebody who missed this podcast or they love natural sciences or something similar, they have interest in this topic. And if you have any questions, now it's too late to ask us in the comment section, but you can always write to us through social media channels or emails or any other contact, how can I say, contact form on our website, whatever you can use. You have all the information in the description of the video. Again, thank you for watching us and see you next month. Bye.